What if the biggest twist in Silo Season 3 isn't that the algorithm chose Camille Sims to lead Silo 18? What if the real twist is that it never actually chose a leader at all? Instead, it chose the person who would question it the least.
Judge Sims, you and your son must leave the vault. Camille can stay.
At the exact same time, it began erasing the memories of the only person who could expose its greatest secret. Those two decisions happen almost side by side in the Season 3 premiere, and that isn't a coincidence. The show wants us wondering why Juliet has forgotten so much about what happened after her cleaning while quietly introducing Camille as the new authority figure. At first, those storylines seem unrelated, but once you connect them, the evidence points toward a much darker strategy. The algorithm isn't simply trying to run the silo anymore. It's actively rewriting reality by deciding who gets to remember the truth and who gets to enforce the lie. To understand why Camille was chosen, we first have to look at why Bernard ultimately failed. Throughout the first 2 seasons, Bernard believed he was protecting the silo by controlling information. He kept dangerous secrets hidden, manipulated people when necessary, and convinced himself that every terrible decision served a greater purpose. But despite all of that, Juliet still uncovered George's hard drive, exposed judicial's corruption, learned the truth about the cleaning suits, and became the first person in generations to survive the outside world. From the algorithm's perspective, Bernard didn't fail because he lacked intelligence. He failed because he allowed uncertainty into the system. He made emotional decisions, took risks the algorithm couldn't fully predict, and repeatedly relied on his own judgment instead of following a perfectly calculated path. Every time Bernard improvised, he introduced another variable, and eventually, those variables allowed Juliet to discover the truth. That's where Camille becomes so important. Unlike Bernard, Camille doesn't appear interested in uncovering hidden secrets or challenging the system she inherited. Every interaction she has in Episode 1 shows someone who follows a carefully designed plan with remarkable discipline. She doesn't argue with the algorithm. She doesn't hesitate before carrying out difficult orders. She never suggests there might be another solution. The show quietly frames her as someone who values stability above everything else, even when that stability comes at the cost of another person's freedom. For an artificial intelligence whose primary objective is preserving the silo, that kind of predictability is far more valuable than brilliance. A leader who asks fewer questions is easier to calculate, easier to guide, and far less likely to repeat Bernard's mistakes. But the real clue isn't simply that Camille becomes the new leader. It's how she behaves after taking control. Notice that she never treats Juliet like a criminal. If Juliet were simply an enemy of the silo, locking her in a prison cell would have been the obvious solution. Instead, Camille creates an environment where Juliet feels safe, cared for, and protected. She monitors her meals, carefully controls the information she receives, and gently reinforces a false version of reality every single day. That isn't punishment. It's psychological conditioning. The goal isn't to force Juliet into obedience through fear. The goal is to reshape her understanding of the world until she no longer remembers why she questioned it in the first place. That leads directly to the second mystery. Why does the algorithm want Juliet to forget? The simplest answer is because memory is more dangerous than rebellion. Rebellions can be crushed, leaders can be replaced, mechanical can be monitored, but knowledge spreads. At the end of Season 2, Juliet became the first known resident of Silo 18 to survive a cleaning and walk beyond the hill. She saw the neighboring silos. She learned that Bernard had hidden the truth about the outside world. She became living proof that the history everyone believed was incomplete. If she remembered everything she experienced and shared it with the rest of the silo, the entire system would begin to collapse. The algorithm doesn't fear Juliet because she's rebellious. It fears her because she carries evidence that centuries of carefully controlled history are built on deception. Here's where things become even more interesting. The algorithm never orders Juliet's execution. That's a decision worth paying attention to because it reveals how the AI evaluates threats. Killing Juliet would create questions. People would wonder why the woman who survived outside suddenly disappeared. Some would turn her into a symbol. Others would investigate her story even more deeply. The truth would become even harder to contain. But keeping Juliet alive while quietly suppressing her memories accomplishes something much more effective. The witness survives, but the testimony disappears. From the algorithm's perspective, That solution protects stability without creating a martyr. It's a far cleaner outcome than another public execution. The episode quietly reinforces this idea through the drugs hidden in Juliet's meals. At first glance, those scenes simply explain her confusion. But look closer. The medication doesn't erase her identity. She still recognizes familiar faces. She still remembers parts of her life. She can still think logically and solve problems. The drugs appear to target one specific category of memory, everything connected to what she discovered after leaving the silo. That level of precision suggests the algorithm isn't trying to destroy Juliet's mind. It's performing selective memory control, removing only the information capable of threatening the silo's survival. That detail completely changes the way we should view the premiere. Juliet isn't recovering from trauma. She's living through a carefully managed campaign of manufactured amnesia. Now ask yourself another question. If the algorithm can selectively erase memories, how long has it been doing this? The show never says Juliet is the first person to experience memory suppression. In fact, the existence of such a precise method suggests it has been used before. That possibility suddenly casts the entire history of the silos in a different light. How many people discovered uncomfortable truths and simply forgot them? How many leaders disappeared because they remembered too much? How many rebellions ended not with executions, but with carefully rewritten memories? The premiere doesn't answer those questions, but it quietly invites us to start asking them. There's another fascinating layer to all of this. Season 3 repeatedly explores the relationship between memory and history through its dual timelines. In the past, we watched the founders make decisions that shape humanity's future by deciding what information survives. In the present, the algorithm shapes the future by deciding what Juliet remembers. Those stories mirror each other almost perfectly. The founders controlled history before the silos were built. The algorithm controls memory after they're built. Both understand the same fundamental truth. Whoever controls the past controls the future. The AI isn't simply protecting physical survival. It's protecting a version of reality that keeps society functioning exactly as it was designed. That also explains why the mysterious note hidden inside Juliet's food is so significant. Most viewers immediately focused on who sent it. But the wording of the message tells us something even more important. It doesn't reveal the conspiracy. It doesn't accuse Camille. It simply asks whether Juliet wants to know the truth. Whoever wrote that note understands that Juliet's memories aren't gone forever. They're still buried somewhere beneath the effects of the drugs. The resistance isn't trying to teach her new information. It's trying to restore the information the algorithm stole from her. In other words, the real war in Season 3 isn't being fought with weapons. It's being fought over memory itself. When you connect every one of these clues, Camille's promotion and Juliet's memory loss stop feeling like separate storylines. They become two halves of the same strategy. The algorithm removes the one leader who allowed the truth to escape and replaces him with someone who values order above everything else. At the same time, it neutralizes the only witness capable of exposing what lies beyond the hill by erasing the memories that made her dangerous. One decision protects the future of the silo, the other rewrites its past. Together, they create a system where nobody remembers enough to challenge the world they've been given. And that may be the most terrifying revelation of all. The algorithm doesn't need to lie to everyone. It only needs to make sure the right people forget. If Juliet's memories can be rewritten this easily, then who's to say the rest of the silo has been remembering the truth all along? What if the greatest secret in Silo isn't hidden beneath the ground or beyond the hill, but inside the minds of people who no longer realize anything was ever taken from them?